What's good, y'all? So today I'm going to teach you guys how to install some rear springs on a Gen 3 Tundra. So I'm actually running some Dobinson's 59 541s, I believe. So they're the 2-inch lift. The light load, I believe up to 110 pounds of weight. I didn't like how much rake I had, so I'm gonna go ahead and try their 1-inch springs. These are the C59 835Vs. So same spring rate for these coils. They're just marketed at 1 inch as opposed to these, which are the 2-inch lift. So just to give you guys an idea of how much bigger those 2-inch lift springs were, these were the OEM springs from the Tundra, and these are the 1-inch lift. So pretty big difference between the OEM and the 1-inch. So you can only imagine how much taller the 2 inches are going to be. So actually I didn't even use a spring compressor to put these on when I did it, but it was a real pain in the ass. But I'm going to show you guys like a real cool trick on how to throw these springs on without having to use a spring compressor or anything like that. Okay, so obviously you're going to want to have the truck jacked up on jack stands as high as you can possibly get it. You want to chalk the front wheel so just in case it rolls forward, it doesn't fall on you. And then if you want to make life a lot easier, get yourself a big ass impact. So let's go ahead and take these off. A little tip, guys, if you want an extra layer of like safety, I always like to throw the wheel under the truck, so just in case it does fall, I mean, at least we got that to catch it. Now that everything's jacked up, wheels are off, we're going to want to go ahead and take off the brackets for I believe these are the ABS sensors. So there's going to be one here, and then we got some brake lines in there to disconnect. I believe there's 2 in the middle, and then also on the other side got another ABS sensor right here. So it's going to be one. You see those 2 lines right there, the brake lines, 2, and then again that other sensor on the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so this is going to be a 12 socket here. You always want to make sure you do that first before you use any power tool, right? So let's go ahead and remove these. That one's good. And then another tip, if you guys don't like losing bolts or nuts, usually I just like to pop them back into place loosely, so when I do put everything back together, it's just a lot easier. Okay, so that one, and then we got 2 more in the middle here. Try to show you. So we're gonna have this little bracket that connects this line here, and then actually we got another one right here. So we got this one right here. There's a 12 on top of that. We're gonna go ahead and remove that, and then actually it's kind of hard to see here. We're gonna go ahead and remove this one as well. All right, last one here. All right, so now that all the lines are disconnected, we're gonna have a lot more slack when we're articulating this rear end of the axle. Next, you guys are gonna wanna go ahead and disconnect the rear sway bar from the frame. I believe this is gonna be a 17. And then you're gonna wanna take off the bolt on the bottom end of the shock here. Again, this is gonna be a 17. Now we're gonna go ahead and pry off the bottom shock. But before we do that, I like to have a jack right underneath here, support it when it pops off. Put this in place. And then you want to go ahead and grab a pry bar here and start picking this off. So here's the trick, guys. If you guys don't have a set of spring compressors, you can actually go rent them at like O'Reilly's or AutoZone. But in this case, I'm too lazy to go there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys what I did to get these super long springs in the rear. You wanna start off on the passenger side. It's a lot easier than doing the driver's side first because you're fighting against the panhard bar. So the trick is you want to remove this little bumper wheel. So what this does is it actually protects the gas tank when this rear end is articulating. But I found it easier to get enough clearance when I push this down to pull the spring out. Just remove this bumper. Okay, we got this little rubber bumper removed. Put that to the side somewhere I won't lose it. And then now you'll see once I drop this floor jack, the axle is going to come down with it. There we go. So the purpose of removing all those lines in the beginning is so you're not stressing out any of these important lines. So actually, as I was jacking this up, it looks like it got a little bit too much tension on my brake lines over there. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and have to remove this bracket right here and this bracket right here, and then that should actually give me a little bit more slack. I wish I caught this the last time I did it, but I did do this in the dark, so it was kind of hard to see everything. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove those, and hopefully it gives me enough slack so that's not too stressed out. Okay, I think that is actually a lot better. You see up there, a lot more slack. So essentially what we want to happen here is we want to push this far down enough where we can pull the spring off. You see how it's still under a little bit of load? So I'm gonna go ahead and take this jack, put it on the opposite side of the axle, and then once I start to lift this axle up here, it's going to start to push that one down, giving us clearance to pull that out. Okay, see how that's going down now? Okay, so I got that side as high as it can go, and now our limiting factor is going to be this sensor. I'm not sure what this is, but you can see it's bumping on the gas tank. So that's pretty much all you can go. You can see I can shake it a little bit. There's still a little bit of pressure under the spring, but I'm going to show you guys the way I did it. Probably wouldn't recommend it, but I mean, it worked for me. Nothing seemed to get damaged, so I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. Alright, here's the real secret, guys. No spring compressors, no help from someone else, no problem. All you gotta do is straddle your brake and just bounce on it. Give it a little bounce as you're doing that. Bam. We're out, baby. Okay, so here's the spring I was just running. This is going to be that 2-inch Dobinson spring. You're going to want to take this bumper off, throw it on the new spring, and then you're also going to want to take this little, I don't know what is this, like little rubber guard thingy, pop that on here. But let me just show you guys like the size difference of these springs. So I'm gonna take this off so it's not giving it extra height. So this is the 2-inch spring from Dobinson. This one's gonna be the 1-inch. And then this is the OEM one right here. So you can see the significance in size difference compared to the OEM, the 1-inch spring from Dobinson, and the 2-inch. So you could only imagine how hard this 2-inch spring was to put in without spring compressors, because you had to fight with the height and the spring tension when putting that in. So this is going to be a little bit easier to pop in there. Okay. So again, you want to take this little bumper stop. This is actually going to sit on the top side. So this is going to be the top right here. It's going to fit just like that. And then we're going to want to take this. This is actually from the OEM spring, and put that on the bottom of the spring here. So when we go ahead and install this on the truck, it's going to be sitting this side up. Okay, so let's see if we could get this spring in without having to bounce on the brake again. But before we do that, I just want to show you guys. So again, this is going to be the top side. So there's going to be a little place where this is going to be seated into. You want to make sure that's centered and seated correctly. So let's attempt this. Start at the top. And let's see if this will go on. Nice. Just like that. Nice and easy. Again, you want to make sure the top is seated correctly. That looks good. Now over to this side, you're going to want to get the end of the bottom spring and have it seated near this little perch. I'm going to spin this a little bit. And let me fix this. So you don't want to get it too close to that little perch, otherwise you're going to be rubbing. So I mean, I usually like to leave like a finger width distance from that little perch there. So that looks good. Make sure the top is seated. Looks good there. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, as I'm coming down with this jack, I want to make sure that the spring is still seated in there correctly. So what I'm going to do, this would obviously be a lot easier with another person, but I don't got another person here, so I'm going to show you guys how I do it. So I'm going to come down slowly on the left side. Straighten this up as I'm doing that. So come down slowly. It starts to build tension. Make sure that's seated in there. That looks good. The bottom good here. Yep, that looks good. Before I go and do the other side, I'm gonna reconnect the bottom of the shock back onto the axle. You're gonna want to make sure that this isn't torqued down all the way when you reconnect this, because you want to have the truck with the wheels on and then sitting on its own weight, and then you want to go ahead and torque it down. I believe it's going to be 80 foot-pounds for this nut right here. So an easy way to get this bottom of the shock reconnected to the axle, you're going to want to have a jack right underneath it. I'm going to jack this up until it aligns with the bottom of the axle. Going up. And then once you get to right where the hole is, get yourself a dead blow hammer or mallet, whatever. Give it a few taps. Just like that. Go ahead and put in the 17. Okay, now that I got the bottom of the shock reconnected to the axle, made sure that these springs are seated correctly, I'm going to go ahead and reconnect all the lines here. So I think there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then throw everything else on. One last check here, make sure everything's connected correctly. Lines look good there. Connected. Check this side. Alright, everything looks good. Let's go ahead and reconnect these sway bars here to end links. Now the end link on the other side. Alright guys, so everything is put back on and made sure that all the lines were good. Made sure the springs were seated correctly. Connected the sway bar. Now I'm gonna put the wheels on and then torque everything down. Okay, so got the wheel back on. It's easier to torque that lower bolt on the lower shock if you got a set of ramps, if you get under there and then you got space. But anyways, I torqued that lowered bolt to 80 foot-pounds, and then I did the end link to 55 foot-pounds. I'm gonna go ahead and test drive the car, see how she sits on these new 1-inch springs, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay guys, so this is how she's looking from the front compared to the rear. Does look like I'm still a little bit raked, but that's fine because I'm gonna throw a bit of gear in the rear. That should lower the back end quite a bit, maybe an inch. But anyways guys, if you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm gonna be posting up more videos on DIYs, parts installations. If you guys just want to follow the build, I'm gonna be throwing a bunch of more parts on this truck. The reason why I went with light load is because I want my ride to be as plush and as soft as possible. I don't plan on putting a bed rack or rooftop tent anytime soon, so in the meantime I just want like a comfortable ride. Later on in the future, when I do end up getting a bed rack and the rooftop tent, I'm gonna grab some new springs, medium, heavy load, depending on how much weight I put on, or if I put on rear bumper or front bumper, I'll change the whole thing out. That's how she looks. I'm about to get some rock sliders in from RCI. I'm gonna make a video on how to install those as well, so stay tuned guys.